When Halloween Ends was released in 2022, it was positioned as the grand finale to a legendary horror saga, promising to bring closure to the decades-long battle between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. Fans anticipated an epic, bloody showdown, but unfortunately the film didn't live up to expectations, and it left many viewers frustrated and dissatisfied. But why? Let's break down the key reasons why it failed before imagining a more satisfying conclusion. Michael Myers is the face of the Halloween franchise, and audiences expect him to take center stage. Instead, much of Halloween Ends focuses on Corey Cunningham, a new character who is driven to violence after a tragic accident. Corey's arc takes away screen time from Michael, and the film's attempt to position him as the potential successor really didn't sit well with fans. People wanted to see Michael at his most dangerous, but the movie instead gives us a diminished version of this iconic killer. There's also the lack of a true Laurie versus Michael showdown. The heart of this franchise has always been the Laurie Strode versus Michael Myers dynamic. Halloween Ends promised a final confrontation, but the eventual showdown was brief and, well, underwhelming. Laurie and Michael barely interact until the last act, leaving their climactic battle feeling quite rushed. And after 40 plus years of build-up, fans expected a more drawn-out, tension-filled showdown, but the film failed to deliver that cathartic moment. There was also unresolved themes and just disjointed storytelling. The movie introduces several themes like trauma and the cyclical nature of violence, but they just aren't fully explored. Laurie's character arc shifts drastically from a traumatized survivor in 2018's Halloween to a seemingly carefree, happy-go-lucky grandmother who has Halloween traditions now. Like, what? It was only a couple of years ago you were shooting the heads off mannequins on Halloween, not to mention that since then, your daughter was killed. Yes, on Halloween.
Gotcha! Jesus. You're dead.
There's just little to no emotional continuity, which makes her character development feel jarring and disconnected. Additionally, the inclusion of supernatural elements, like Michael's ability to transfer evil, or read minds, or something like that, I don't even know. It just feels out of place and poorly explained. Well, poorly explained might be giving it too much credit. Not explained at all. Obviously, one of the biggest missteps was making Corey a major focus, with Michael almost becoming a background figure. Fans of the franchise come to these movies for the unstoppable force that is Michael Myers, and sidelining him for a newcomer broke the film's momentum and betrayed audiences' expectations. And not in a good, unexpected twist kind of way, more like a what the fuck are you fucking kidding me kind of way. So, with all that said about why it didn't work, let's delve into an alternative version that keeps Michael Myers at the forefront, respects the character arcs of both Laurie and Michael, and gives fans the epic conclusion that they've waited for. This is my idea for how Halloween Ends should have gone. Part 1. The opening setup, a town in fear, ready to fight back. We start by keeping the focus on Haddonfield and the trauma that Michael has inflicted. It's been a few years since the brutal events of Halloween Kills, but the scars are still fresh. The town is not just terrified, it's mobilizing. With Michael still on the loose, there's a sense of growing dread, but also determination. We see Haddonfield citizens working together to protect themselves, setting up neighborhood watch groups, arming themselves, and making a plan to stop Michael if he should return again. Laurie Strode is still central to this narrative. While she's tried to move on, writing her memoir and living with her granddaughter Allison, deep down she knows that Michael isn't truly gone. And in this version, Laurie isn't portrayed as a carefree grandmother, but as someone who is living in constant preparation for Michael's inevitable return. She's been here before, she's done it all, she knows what's going on. We see her setting traps around her house, training with weapons, and mentally preparing herself for what she knows is coming. This time though, not everyone around her sees her as some crazy old traumatized woman. They believe her, they understand her and relate to her, and actually support her, unlike 2018. Meanwhile, Michael Myers hasn't disappeared. He's lurking on the outskirts of town, continuing to kill in brutal, isolated attacks. The town is aware he's still alive, but no one knows when or where he will strike next, keeping the tension high from the very beginning. Part 2. The supernatural connection. Michael's true nature. In this version, we address Michael Myers' near supernatural resilience, but we do so in a subtle, chilling way. Rather than leaning heavily into the supernatural explanations or trying to explain his immortality with convoluted theories, we introduce hints that Michael might be more than human, but never really explain it. In my opinion, that's what keeps him so terrifying. He can't be explained. So Laurie finds old journals from Dr. Loomis, her former protector, speculating on Michael's nature. These are rather cryptic notes, drawings of runes, and unsettling observations that suggest Michael could be something more than just a man. However, the film never really dives too deeply into these supernatural elements. Instead, it leaves them open to interpretation, allowing audiences to decide whether Michael truly is something otherworldly or just an unstoppable embodiment of evil. Part 3. A Townwide Hunt. Haddonfield takes the fight to Michael. Now, rather than keeping the battle between just Laurie and Michael isolated, the entire town becomes involved. Haddonfield, tired of living in fear, bands together to fight back. Laurie leads the charge. Coordinating with the townspeople to set traps and fortify homes, there's a palpable sense of camaraderie as everyone from the police to local business owners prepares for Michael's return. I understand that this is similar to the way they went with Halloween Kills, but this is different. It's not like a riot or a manhunt. This is a truly coordinated assault on Michael Myers. And in this version, Michael isn't hiding in a sewer or playing a diminished role. He's active. He's killing anyone that gets in his way to make his way back to Laurie. His murders are brutal, relentless, and reminiscent of his earlier rampages. He is the embodiment of terror once again. The climax of the film takes place not in Laurie's home, but at the old Myers house. In a symbolic return to where it all began, Laurie lures Michael back to the house, setting a series of traps that play on their long history together. This final confrontation is long, it's brutal, and it's tense, unlike their relatively brief encounter in Halloween Ends. Part 4. Laurie's Sacrifice. As the battle rages on in the Myers house, Laurie comes to a painful realization. Michael can't be killed in the traditional sense. She understands that evil is something that can't be eradicated unless she too makes a sacrifice. Throughout the battle, it becomes clear that Michael's power over Laurie, his hold on her psyche, is pretty much what's keeping him alive. He's like a parasitic force, feeding off her fear and obsession. In the final moments, Laurie manages to trap Michael in the house, setting it ablaze with both of them still inside. This scene mirrors the ending to the 2018 Halloween, but with one crucial difference. This time, Laurie stays behind. She knows that in order to truly end Michael's reign of terror, she has to confront her own trauma head-on, and in doing so, she accepts her fate. As the flames engulf them both, Michael and Laurie perish together in a fiery, dramatic final act. Part 5. Aftermath. A bittersweet peace. The film ends with the town of Haddonfield finally at peace. For the first time in decades, people can begin to heal from the trauma that Michael has inflicted. We see Allison mourning her grandmother, but also finding a sense of closure. Laurie's sacrifice was not in vain. She freed the town from the grip of fear that had plagued it for so long. However, as the credits begin to roll, we hear a familiar faint sound. The rhythmic breathing of Michael Myers. It's subtle, barely noticeable, but it leaves viewers with the lingering question. Can evil ever truly be defeated? Alright, that end bit might not be needed. It just felt very Halloween-y. Anyway, let's conclude. Why would this ending work? This reimagined conclusion to the Halloween trilogy addresses several issues with Halloween Ends. It gives Myers the central role that he deserves, re-establishes Laurie as a complex, unprepared protagonist, and delivers an epic showdown that fans expected and wanted. By incorporating the town of Haddonfield into the battle, we add a layer of communal catharsis, making the fight against Michael feel like a final, collective stand against evil. Moreover, by leaving Michael's supernatural elements ambiguous, we honour his original characterization as an unstoppable force of nature, while keeping the mystery alive. Laurie's ultimate sacrifice gives her the heroic ending that she truly deserves, tying up her arc in a way that's both tragic and triumphant. In the end, this version of Halloween Ends would give fans a satisfying, emotionally charged conclusion to the saga, while leaving room for discussion and interpretation. So, what do you think of this? Would this have been superior to what we actually got? After the first two movies, being 2018 and Halloween Kills, I was really excited for the finale. I had enjoyed the setup, no silly brother-sister storyline. Laurie was an absolute badass. It's how I always thought the story should have gone. So, I obviously had expectations and hopes for Ends. Sadly, I didn't have this channel when it came out to give my thoughts then, but I thought now would be a fitting time to share what I was hoping for. I really hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments down below how you wanted it to go, or maybe you loved the actual movie. That's fine too, let's discuss. Thank you all so much for watching today, my friends. Please consider subscribing for more horror content. Have a great day, and remember, stay scared, dead scared.